gonna let that disperse. We gain a Z story. From above, the Gilliflower's cap does look a little like a woman's face. She dissolves like smeared paint. Okay, got spider silk. Restless nights again. I'm going to just keep ignoring them because we really can't afford the larger terror increases. Okay, according to the log, a baked breeze rises, the improbable scent of stone out of some distant desert. You are close to the salt lions. Been looking for these. Okay, that's what's tripping it. Right, well. Lakes class Corvette. Yes, I'm aware. Hull damage, not good. Is that 27? They're tossing flares everywhere. I'm just going to keep trying to stay on their tail. Luckily, they're only doing 4 damage. You still can't take very many hits. Defeated an Alakis-class vessel, crippled, broken, already feeding the Z's endless hunger. Little remains of the ship, but scraps of sinking cargo and a few buoyant parts of its splintered carcass. Investigate the wreckage. Captain, quick, over here, port side. The legendary Clay Woman Corsair. She clings tight to the last few scraps of floating debris, defeated but defiant. Yeah, we're throwing her a rope and claiming a bounty. It takes 3 crewmen to pull the pirate poet from the Z's clutches, while others mutter about bringing an unfinished man, an unfinished woman, aboard ship. She just smirks. She carries little on her but the verses of poetry tattooed over every visible inch, and an old sword almost as chipped as she is. Fortunately, her salvaged possessions also include the jangling money purse on her belt, fat and ready to pay the traditional freedom price of her current bounty. As much as the crew could subdue her, all are relieved once she is aboard a lifeboat, rowing away through the darkness towards Gator's Morn. And we got 400 echoes. Salt lions. There's a vast sorrow in their empty eyes. Two basalt beasts, cathedral sides. They frown eternally at each other across the black waves. The north one carries an encampment. Creeping human figures eat away at its features like rot. Picking. There's a supply dock below. Alright, so 20 units of spare cargo space. We obviously do not have that because we are carrying so much friggin' fuel. Plus some of this other stuff that we've salvaged. We're currently carrying way too much. We would have to lose a lot of stuff. So we're not going to pick that up right now, but that is definitely something we're going to do. For now, compile a port report. And visit the unmakers. Muscular pick wielders rest on camp stools, watching you approach, passing hip flasks around. An unctuous overseer beckons you to sit. Fungal sane and tea cakes. We get funding from the bazaar, it's true, but Station 4? I wouldn't call us Station 4. It's a little grandiose. The stones are stuffed with secrets, but most of them are used as garden statuary or occult ballast. Most of them. Some go down to the places under the bazaar. More tea cakes? Lost some terror, that's nice. Our hull is in friggin' terrible condition. And we would have to lose... Look at my friggin'... So we'd need 20 units of space. We have 40. I could swear that somewhere on here it's supposed... Yeah, you have to, like, open that up. We'd have to lose 8 things. And it's going to take us a while to burn through that much fuel. So... I'm going to take the risk and keep exploring for a little bit. Do not return sender. Taciturn functionaries walk the docks in uniforms of postmen. An enormous crowned statue casts a chilling shadow. The shadows gleam with rat's eyes. Their ceaseless chittering rolls like the tide. Okay, we will be assembling a port report in a moment. First, we're going to go to the postman's tavern. The Inky Blotter, it's called. The sign doesn't look like much. Warmer inside than it looks. Faces turn in your direction, but no one seems surprised to have a new arrival on the island. Lit by 2 roaring fires, one at either end of the room, the bartender's in a postman's uniform, like almost all the patrons. A noseless postal inspector called Blunt Thomas delivers the drinks, clears tables, stacks the firewood. Okay, various things we could ask. We're going to allow the Cloderier to offer her services. She could remove the call from a postal worker. They wouldn't be a worker anymore, of course. The hairless postman won't hear of it, but you do get one taker. I miss London, he says. I'm tired. The inside of my mouth tastes like stamp glue. Blunt Thomas gives you a bottle of rum and the use of the basement. No amenities, but I don't fancy cleaning the blood off a better floor. The patient takes off his uniform for the last time and lies on the cold floor. No spectators, says the Cloderier harshly, and puts you out of the room. She comes out later with a scrap of skin from the patient's chest. The patient follows, whistling a tune from Mahogany Hall. Listen in on postal tall tales. Fishermen brag about fish that got away. Postmen brag about hard deliveries. Amazing what you get for a penny stamp. Delicate bottles lowered down chimneys on a rope. Do not fold under any circumstance letters curled through a narrow slot. Rattling, groaning crates brought back to the same address every day for 22 days running. The windows they pried open, the servants they bribed, the delivery surcharges they paid out of their own salaries just to get rid of one more packet. It's hard to tell which they hate more, the senders of the mail or the recipients. Stands to reason, if the message was a welcome one, they'd tell the other fellow in person, reflects the hairless postwoman. Going to ask about the big statue in the center of the island. If there was a guidebook for visitors, it would have to be the first entry. The monumental postman. Oh, that. It's all of us, isn't it? sort of the spirit of the island. Most of them don't seem trouble for more of an explanation than that, though the hairless postwoman tells you it didn't always look like a fallen London postman at all, that it used to have a different face and a more old-fashioned outfit. I'm going to ask why the hairless postwoman is hairless, which is probably going to be a faux pas, but legacy of some interestingly explosive package, maybe. No, she says, curt, not pleased you asked, still had eyebrows when I came to Nuncio. The postman at the next bench diverts you, speaks in a low voice. Lots of people find habits when they can't deliver the post anymore. This one has a plucking habit. Best learn not to notice. Why is the local currency rats? Scarcity is not an issue. The hairless postwoman at the end of the bar smiles mirthlessly, or maybe it's just the lack of eyebrows that does it. Long enough carrying the things around, you get into the habit, she says. Then she tells you that if you stay out late enough, you'll see some of the postmen making a procession to the center of the island, stringing up rats around the statue like Yuletide decorations, in prayer to an ancient deity of this place. From the coughing and choking elsewhere in the pub, you'd guess this is a story they often tell to newcomers. How do you occupy yourselves all day? There must be more than this. Dead letter office. Big building, center of town, hard to miss. You can work there too if you want. It's not clear whether this is a generous offer or a threat. There's a long stretch of shale, dotted with washed-up kegs and barrels and smaller flotsam. Shifty going. The rocks slip and slither underfoot, but you keep your balance. Every lap of the wave drags up some new letter or parcel. The face of the water is dotted with them, as far as you can see in this blackness, carried by a powerful current. We can collect material for the dead letter office. We can argue with the man holding a broom. He is determined. He keeps shoving letters into the sea keeps shoving them back. We can assist the man holding the broom. Or we can rescue a parcel that won't stop meowing. We're rescuing the parcel that won't stop meowing. Ow! The parcel's contents are not at all pleased to make your acquaintance. A yellow glare, a flash of claws, a distinctive odor. Then the horrible animal is out of sight. You'd like to believe it will come to regret mauling you, but alas, it's likely to regard this rat-infested island as a paradise. Your left cheek will never be quite the same. We're going to collect material for the dead letter office. You make your way along the shore with a big sack. Many of the envelopes are too damp to read, their addresses permanently lost, but a surprising number are still legible. There are also parcels. Here and there there is a crate, a message in a wine bottle, a sealed cask that is bobbed up out of a shipwreck. Your sack ought to get heavy with all these contents, but it pulls upwards and away, straining inland towards the dead letter office like an unmanageable dog. We're going to try to study the currents here. The water that brings flotsam ashore does not follow the usual patterns. On all sides, you make a complete circuit of the island. The whole shoreline is alike, all of it covered in debris, all of it washing steadily inland from every direction. Not the work of some directional current, it's more as though the whole Untersee were draining into Nuncio. Except, of course, that force did not affect your ship when you came this way. It does not stop ships from leaving. Evidently, it only works on the post. Let's go to the dead letter office. There's the sign of a cancelled stamp over the door. Extensive tour. Blunt Thomas takes you around the office, a small collection room where those retrieving letters may state their business. A much larger set of back offices where newly arrived letters and parcels are collected and sorted. A dank, briny smell that never goes away, presumably because so many of the parcels spent time in the water before they arrived here. In the back of the room is a machine manned, ratted by a postal rat, a ratus faber in a pinstriped hat. It shovels sludge-damp letters into the machine's hopper, and they come out dried, cleaned, pressed, and sorted into slots by size and quality of paper. Okay, so to make a study of what goes on in the back room, we need to wait for a while because we need to wait until something awaits us. Let's feed undelivered letters into the sorting machine. 52 categories. After prolonged whirling, the machine begins to distribute 7 invitations edged in gilt into the correspondence of the aristocracy slot, 2 oversized parcels probably containing books into the books tray, 1 stamped bronze tablet that drops with a clang into the bin marked First City. The postal rat watches all of this with an air of satisfaction. We're going to converse with the postal rat. Do you like having sticky hands? Asked the postal rat. Most people, they have sticky hands. They can't wait to clean them. Yes? For a postman, an undeliverable parcel is sticky hands. Bothers you till it's fixed. The longer you serve in the post office, the worse it feels. Delivering a letter correctly is good, so not delivering it is bad. The unclean feeling gets too strong, and they come here. Why don't you make a machine like this one back in London? Might lead to fewer dead letters in the first place. Oh, no, that wouldn't be permitted at all. There are strict rules about the initial handling and sorting of post. An experimental machine might mangle the letters. It's only the dead material that is unimportant enough to be entrusted to a ratus fabber. His voice isn't bitter, but he twists a coil so hard that it springs sideways out of the machine and pings off your shoe. We're going to ask him for a key to the basements. He's surprised by the request. Most postmen don't like it down there. No one ever asks for a key, but he'll cut you a new one. Just be careful in there, and come out if you start to feel wrong. Okay, we're going to open the back rooms. Deep and deeper. You had expected a few shelves of supplies, more files of letters a few years older. No, it is a pit, so deep that lantern light does not show the bottom. A spiral walkway descends along its wall, and that spiral opens wider as it goes, as if you were looking through the narrow end of a very large shell. Lining this wall are shelves and nooks, unevenly sized. Some are a few inches square and contain single scrolls of papyrus. Others support crates bigger than coffins. They're made of woody fungus, grown to meet requirements. There are no marks of carpentry or any of the postal rat's handiwork. 3 turns down the spiral and you feel you can't breathe. Time to leave. You can come back later. Maybe. And yeah, not surprisingly, that made terror go up a little, so we should probably quit poking it for a while. But we're going to talk to him about our findings. Troubled but not surprised. They say that's been there since before we came, before there were Londoners in the Neath, before there was a dead letter office, there was someone else, and they built the last layer on top of what was there, before and so on. When you press him a little further, he says, I've been down there, didn't like it much, but I wanted to test my machine. Thought if it could handle some of the very old dead letters, that would be a good sign, evidence the machine was in working order, good strong sorting categories, and so forth. He pauses. There's letters down there that set your hair on fire if you so much as look at them. See the bald patch on my left leg? That wasn't a machine accident. Oh no. That singed right off as soon as I put my nose into one of them letters. Okay, that requires mirrors. Oh boy. Yeah, not doing that yet. Gonna end our shift for now. Yeah, let's assemble a port report. Uniform behavior. Cataloging all the peculiarities of the place takes many pages. The tailor who imports gilt, buttons, and braid just to be able to keep everyone's uniform in condition. The fashion of wearing a post bag with nothing inside, wearing it open, wearing it upside down, torn apart, or as a hat, wearing it any way that will show it doesn't have letters in it. Then there have been sitting rooms papered in cancel stamps, the bergamot pomegranate curd on the toast, the commerce in rat corpses, the hatred of cats, the absolute custom against ever issuing a paper invitation for any event, no matter how formal. It's the familiarity, the not quite Londonness of the place that makes it all so odd. Okay, yep, terrors just get worse all the time. It's hovering at 53 right now, and of course the other big concern is our hull. Oh, speaking of, yeah, we're not going anywhere near that. A stern reminder from the Admiralty. In the name and by the power of her enduring majesty, a trade embargo and quarantine in absolute perpetuity has hereby been declared on the Empire of Hands. No ship of London is to permit aboard a Pentecost ape without express and prior permission of the Admiralty. Any and all acts of spirifage are prohibited. They know what they did. Beware of stowaways. Keep a tight grip on your soul. With regulations in mind, it is a surprise to be greeted by a mere itchy monkey in a tattered yellow robe, barely walking with the help of a ceremonial staff. The crew shifts uncomfortably. They know the stories. It will take more than the natural beauty of this place to make most of them risk shore leave here. Port Stanton. Soul-hungry monkeys reluctantly tend this trading post, waiting for an opportunity to escape. Bloated fleas hop from one ape man to man and man to ape, gorging themselves without a care for which is which. Okay, so to prepare a comprehensive port report, we have to explore the different islands. Let's have an audience with the flea-ridden mare. The flea-ridden mare scratches himself in a chair made of crates, surrounded by boxes of long-rotten trade goods. As a 5-souled ape, he would be able to petition for membership of court. For now, the trade embargo has left him trapped on the outside, a 3-souled overseer with no talent for order. In better times, being overseer of Port Stanton gave the incumbent their pick of visitors to the Empire. Now it is a thankless task as any to be found in the Neath. No, we're not selling him our soul. Basically, we can buy supplies at a fairly standard price. Fuel is at a much worse price. We're good on fuel, and honestly, we're okay on supplies as long as we double back to London soon, so... The Zeppelin. Intense work is underway across the bridge. Turned away. 2 monkey guards wielding rifles and rusty bayonets block the bridge. This is not for your eyes, outsider. Avert them. Walk away. Walk faster. Good human. Okay, so there's not much for us to do here right now. Let's try sailing the Empire of Hands. Communal wooden boats offer free passage to all travelers willing to row between islands. Let's do a scouting trip to Sovereign Island. A wooden palace stretches across the whole island, passage to it lit by a field of tiny glim buoys. The heart of the Empire. Many boats circle the island, all keeping their distance. The one that gets closest is an extended rowboat painted in yellows, whites, and reds. 4 servant monkeys strain at the oars, while its true passenger sits in comfort behind a gauze curtain. Just for a moment an eye catches yours, but only for a moment. It would not do for a high-souled ape to see something so beneath its notice. Today the sprawling palace is called the Wild-Wheeled Court. Tomorrow, who knows? The world of the Pentecost apes is one of cruel whimsy, where stolen traditions last only as long as their amusement. Let's see, gain access to the court requires 1 gift for the Monkey Emperor, which we don't have. Back to the boat. The guards stare as you row away. It will take some effort to ingratiate yourself here. Perhaps if you could find something on one of the other islands. Scouting trip. The Ash Isthmus. Isthmus? I vaguely know what that means. I've just never tried to say that word out loud. Neither man nor ape claims the volcanic remnant between islands. Haunted, they say. Ridiculous. Of apes and monkeys. The trip offers a little time to think on the Penties. Technically, they are monkeys rather than apes, but it is not tactful to remind them of this. To their high-souled faces, the accepted name is Pentecost apes. In private, though, the blank monkeys is about as common. It is, one might say, an ad hominem insult. Let's see. Black beaches give way to an oasis of gently glowing trees and the scent of rotting flowers. Let's enter the forest. Parasynthetic vegetation thrives in the Empire of Hand's fertile soil and cool humidity. Into the woods, wide natural paths run between the clumps of trees, softly lit by a dim green glow and the occasional glimmer of false stars through the canopy. Only the crackling of leaves and the soothing sounds of water break the serenity of this volcano-forged paradise. Let's see, we could hunt for supplies. Not many of the plants and berries here are familiar, but some of them at least look similar to the ones that were being eaten back in Port Stanton. Even with our pages, that is a 31% chance of success, so no. We're going to relax in a hot spring. I know this will end poorly, but we're gonna. Steam and a hint of sulfur gently rise from a secluded natural pool flanked by trees and mushrooms. A moment for yourself. You slip out of your itchy clothes and into the welcoming caress of hot, deep water. The salts and sweats of sailing life melt away as you simply float, bare and free. Above, false stars glimmer bright enough to be worth wishing on. All around, the glow of the trees casts ambient calm on the silent peace. How long has it been since you had a moment like this? Since London? Longer? The heat wraps around your bare skin like a lover's embrace as you lean back and float in the deep pool. There's no responsibility here, no guilt, no sea monsters, no tomb colonists or sorrow spiders or tentacles or nightmares in the dark. Just a moment of peace to enjoy and celebrate for what it is. Wait, what was that? Sounded like giggling? A tiny blonde girl perches, watching on a rock. Her innocent grin is spiced with mischievous glee, because for some reason we were too stupid to just take our clothes into the pool with us. Could have been an opportunity to wash them. She moves like a monkey, but she giggles like an imp. At the look on your face at being caught bathing in her hot spring, and the one that floods onto it as she scoops up your clothes. Shipwrecked as a baby, raised by the Empire of Hands, she now plays between the worlds of apes and man, neither quite one nor entirely of the other. We're going to try to swim for it. She waits, grinning innocently, until you emerge from the hot spring with nothing but your strategically placed hands for modesty. Okay, because we care that much. Before you can get close enough, though, she bolts from her crouched position into the forest on all fours, scampering run that turns every rock and fallen tree into a springboard. I'm not bothering with this. The crew can stare. You stride back on board your ship, eyes locked straight ahead and daring anyone to comment. They do not. In the days that follow, however, word is brusquely spread throughout the crew that anyone else heard singing that song will be swimming the rest of the way home. The song soon becomes a body staple in the singing mandrake. It is not a fame to be envied. Because, yeah, I seem to recall that it's a lot of iron and mirrors challenges if you chase her, and we would have done very poorly. Right, we have 2 more islands. Scouting trip, Fountainhead Island. Ancient secrets peek out of the trees. Any may visit, but few penties ever bother to make the pilgrimage. A young ancient empire. The Empire of Hands is hardly as old as they pretend, but mimicry and theft infuses their whole culture. If the penties have come to think that rulers should be buried in ancient temples, then it is ancient temples they will build. It would hardly be the first time their attempts to mirror humanity have entirely missed the point. Swiftly growing vegetation keeps a thick forest wrapped around the variably ancient ruins. Even the yet-to-be-plundered ones are heavily scarred with crowbar marks. Let's see, a temple in the forest. In a clearing of parasynthetic trees looms an imposing structure of wood and stone. The Vault of the First Emperor. It stretches through the forest in a number of styles, each designed by the whims of the latest Pentecost apes who felt it needed to be made grander. It would take a dedicated team to break in and uncover its secrets. Perhaps you will bring one here later. And a treasure hunt requires an ancient-ish treasure map, so we can just return to the boat. Perhaps there is someone in fallen London who might be able to help you get to the treasures on this island. Scouting trip, Hearthsake Island. A thin pillar of greasy yet appetizing smoke rises from the only human settlement in the Empire. The Blumenbach Quarantine. The Admiralty has never stated precisely why it seeks to keep the Empire confined, though most opposition to it fades once said opposers actually encounter a Pentecost ape. They have been easy to corral, however. Though they do not lack wit, there is not an inventive bone in their hairy bodies, and no amount of stolen humanity has taught them the art of creating engines. The survivors of a pirate expedition have stolen this land, where apes are unwelcome except as an entree. Lost treasure hunter. He squints at a map, muttering incoherently. North for each city the bats have brought down. He wipes his brow. Have you seen a big X on the ground by any chance? I got these 4 map pieces that got me this far and said X would mark the spot, but I can't find an X anywhere. He looks at the map sadly. It should be here, it says. Now where am I supposed to dig? He's too busy to talk right now, but he adds that he will be in the village later if you want to trade adventuring supplies. Don't try the meatballs, he warns, getting back to his search. You just don't want to do that. Approach the village. Greasy smoke and guiltily tempting aromas rise from the collection of huts around a long-beached pirate ship and a field of pointedly impaled monkeys. An explosion almost takes off your head. Sorry about that, booms the boisterous pirate, lowering a smoking blunderbuss as bits of shattered tree rain down. New arrival, are we? Well, if you haven't got a tail, you're all right by me. He squints, momentarily suspicious. You don't have a tail, do you? Wouldn't pass the thieving little buggers to go shaving one of their own. Wouldn't know fair play if it kicked 'em right up the arse. His voice is louder than his blunderbuss. The congealed meat juices in his thick beard are better not considered. It was not madness that drove these pirates to cannibalism, but years of being shipwrecked without the comfort of meat. After a while, any meat would do. Well then. They seem a friendly sort, and are shocked at the idea that they would ever be such poor hosts as to eat a guest, but then they have no shortage of supplies. The Z is quiet. The journey is pleasingly uneventful. You have not been eaten by cannibal pirates. All things considered, a successful trip. Exploration's complete. Perhaps you can use the information you've gleaned. Prepare a comprehensive port report. Few have reasons to brave the waters this far east, especially with the trade embargo. The Admiralty will pay especially well for up-to-date intelligence. All of them warrant further attention. For now, though, it would be best to see if your initial discoveries can whet the interest of anyone back home.